Welcome everyone to not really episode, part 18 of Drawing Comics. I'm your host. This is the exciting part of the stream that I was talking about, where I'm introducing Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon. Now, when I originally saw this, I saw it in a comic book shop, and what caught my eye wasn't Flash Gordon. Everybody knows Flash Gordon, or a lot of people who are into the comic book industry know Flash Gordon. But really, it was just the art. I saw it and I was like, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful work. I like the little dots in the background. It just really reminds me of like classical comics. But just the expressions as well. All around, great anatomy. Masterfully done. Not masterfully. Terrible term. Skillfully done. Very skillful, beautiful illustration. And I saw it and I flipped through it and I was like, wow, this is great. This is really good stuff. I just wanted to get into it. So this was created in 1934 with ghostwriter Don Moore. And what I didn't know, I find this really interesting, was that he influenced Jack Kirby. He influenced John Buscema. Like, I had no idea. When I opened up this book, I was looking through it. I had no clue that it was connected in that way. So I think it's kind of funny how my eye gravitated towards artists that are kind of connected with each other. I didn't know that he even influenced Jack Kirby as well. I don't see really Alex Raymond in Jack Kirby's work, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like a copy, for it to be influenced. Just the same way as like I find a lot of artists who are influential. I don't want to be exactly like them. I would like to do my own kind of work and my own kind of style, but I'm always gonna pay tribute to them being inspiration and sharing their beautiful work. But yeah, he influenced also George Lucas to create Star Wars. Isn't that interesting? I had no idea that George Lucas was into Alex Raymond and that this was like a huge influence on the franchise. But yeah, seems to be the case. He was also induced into Will Eisner's Comic Book Hall of Fame for his work. And interestingly, before he broke into the industry, he worked as a clerk in Wall Street. So for all those who feel like it's hopeless and you're going to go into this like awful industry, there's hope. There's definitely people out there who made it out of there and created beautiful, creative art. So just a side note for all those, that road isn't closed. It's always open. You can veer away from going into that whole field. He was also, his work, and I'll come back to this. Actually, let's do it. He said, I decided honestly that comic art is an art form in itself. It reflects the life and times more accurately and actually is more artistic than magazine illustration, which I'm kind of against. I don't believe in competition. I don't think it belongs in art at all. Let magazine illustration be magazine illustration. It doesn't have to be better than, worse than anything. Some people like doing magazine illustration. There are artists that are amazing and beautiful at creating that stuff. So just again, how toxic competition is, and it really doesn't belong in the art field at all. Like, magazine illustration is different. It's different from comic book work. And why shouldn't it be? Why not have its own thing and not have something next to it to say, is it worth it or not? So, but it was during those times, it was during the times where there was that whole like Nazi value thing of superior, inferior, better than, and everybody was just trying to fight against it by using it, fighting fire with fire. And now we're seeing the repercussions of that, where parents of that generation are teaching their kids those values. It's all over work environments. It's pretty much everywhere. In social media, everyone's acting that way. Kids are young and they're acting that way. So you don't even have to look like a Nazi or dress like one or recite things. You just have to mentally accept those values, and you're no different. You know, your actions, your behavior, your lack of consideration are all just the same thing as what those people had, you know. And when I say I don't mean the viewers, just in general. But it is something that's rampant. It is something huge, and you could see how it even played into art. And during that time in 1930s, you know, that was the biggest focus in everybody's life, in a sense. And this competitiveness really seeped into everything. So we got illustrators who were pinned up against illustrators, artists pinned up against artists, trying to outdo each other. And actually, Flash Gordon was created in competition to Buck Rogers in the 25th century. And that's something that I'll show you guys later as well. It's an old school comic. It's also an adventure comic like Flash Gordon. And yeah, it was just created as a way to like compete. But you look at it and I like it for itself. You know, I look at Buck Rogers in the 25th century and I like the style for the artists themselves, how they portrayed panels, how they portrayed the story, what kind of creatures, characters, designs they came up with. It's not a better than thing. That's that person's imagination. You know, that's very individualistic. And there isn't some sort of model to say that you're supposed to draw everything like this. You know, that's going to make art so boring. If everybody draws like an ideal form that everyone's going to copy, that really stifles the creativity process. In some ways, I feel like it's on purpose. And it also is financed by people who don't understand this kind of stuff, and they don't care for that. You know, for them it's just money. So if they can make money by outdoing somebody else, they will, and they don't care about the sort of effect that kind of has on people's interaction, people's way of seeing each other, people's way of relating or appreciating each other, really. And instead everybody turns into this like, well, I'm better than you are, you know, that garbage. Sorry, this is my rant. I'm always gonna I'm very much against it, and I think it has such rippling effects that I do tend to have little tangents about it. I won't promise I'm not going to talk about it, because I think it's important for everybody, including our people who are just starting to learn, to be aware of it. You know, don't get into that. Don't turn into one of those toxic people, and just it's going to ripple through and pass on to more and more people. And it's just going to be like it is now, a disaster, or just continuing their generational problems. You know, they're passing it on to younger kids, and their unresolved issues are being passed on to like younger kids. It's irresponsible and it's gross. But yeah, as he goes on, he says, an illustrator's work with a camera and models. A comic book artist begins with, which whatever, I'm going to skip over that. A comic book artist begins with a white sheet of paper and dreams up his own business. He is the playwright, director, editor, artist at once, which I think is great. That's a good point. That's really such a great medium. You know, as a comic book artist, you do all those things at the same time, and you create this world in a sense. So of course, it's absolutely an art form. It's an amazing art form. You're learning everything. You're learning the anatomy of the figure. You're learning backgrounds. You're learning buildings and cars and proportions and, you know, interior design, exterior design, like everything. You're touching up on pretty much everything that's out there to create this world, you know. And that's why I'm like, my mind is boggled by people saying things like, oh, I don't know what to draw, or I don't know where to improve. Even like that is insane to me. Like, you're not insane, it's just it doesn't make much sense to me. I think there's just so much to do, there's so much to draw, so much to learn from. It's never really enough, because there's always something new, there's always something exciting being created. You know, I think that yeah, it's absolutely, you know, for those people who are like, oh, it's not an art form, it's for kids. You don't know what you're talking about. You probably never took an art class in your life. But just an excellent point when it comes to that. And aside from it not even having to compare to anything, that's just the reality of it. You don't need to say it's better than magazine art or whatever else. It's just beautiful art, and it's a lot of work. He was born in 1909, fortunately passed away in 1956 from a car accident. There's speculation that it was suicide because he was having extramarital affairs, but some people are saying that that's not really true. So that's just speculation, but it is something to consider. He was driving, and he was driving a convertible, and it was like really rainy. And instead of like stopping the car and putting the top down, he drove even faster in rain with all this coming down on the windshield and his face and all that stuff. And then he just ended up crashing into a tree. And despite wearing a seatbelt, he didn't make it through, which is terrible. He was 46, I think. That's his age. He was really young, still very young. Such a talented artist, created so much influence, you know. Again, the fact that he influenced George Lucas, the fact that he influenced John Buscema and Jack Kirby, it's just sad to have an artist like that pass away so early. But as you could see, beautiful work. And you could see that his influence does come from, actually, which is interesting, magazine artists and illustrators. One of them being John Legata. And I will show you guys his work as well in the future. He is an illustrator. I didn't see that much about him being a comic book artist, but the work that is out there, it's beautiful. He's very well done. Such fluidity, such grace, and just amazing line work. And it's somewhat similar to this. This is what it kind of reminds me of. Just want to make sure it's all in a frame for you to see. Yeah, just wanted to show you guys all this stuff right here. And because it was competition against Buck Rogers in the 25th century, it was a Sunday comic. Buck Rogers in the 25th century was a Sunday comic, and it was featured in newspapers. So it wasn't like your traditional comic book where you flip through an entire issue of multiple pages. And remember, this is like back in 1939, 1929. That's when Buck Rogers in the 25th century came out. It was in the late 20s, and it was just in the beginning of all this stuff. So, you know, it wasn't your traditional issues. You weren't going from page to page to page. This is like featured in a Sunday paper. So it was limited to just one page. And you could see here that it's pretty much 4 or 5 panels, and it says next week, surrender or die. But again, just demonstrating to you how well his anatomy is, you know. Similar to John Buscema, like I could totally see where John Buscema's influence comes from. But I'm not going to say this is John Buscema's work. It's different. There's many different elements to it. I enjoy the simple colors too. I mean, despite it being such realistic figures and expressions and, you know, gestures and stuff like that, it's using these really bright colors, which I really like. I think it's very cool, and it's kind of in contrast to the reality of their poses and all that stuff, you know. And of course, it's because of the limit at the time. As I mentioned in Coloring Comics, I think it was the first episode, where I showed you guys a short video demonstrating the coloring process at the time, what kind of colors they used, what CMYK stands for. This is something you might come across in Photoshop and other applications. So it stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And those were the 4 colors that they used to mix pretty much everything and create. And that's why you could see there's like a limited palette, and there's only certain colors that are being used in here, and there isn't much gradation between them. But it created a unique style, and it created these really interesting panels, like this, for example. You're not going to ever see a cyan color like that when it comes to shadows, but it's to indicate that they're standing in the shadows. So yeah, it's 5 panels each issue, or each release of Flash Gordon, and this is just a collection of multiple volumes. So this is volume 7, and that just goes to show there's a lot more to go for. But yeah, you could see here, even though it's one solid color covering it, it still looks beautiful. It's a great color choice. I like how that's combined. Not just that it's green, but it's a shade of green that goes well with the orange background as well. And just such skillful lines, such skillful illustration of the human figure and poses and the anatomy and composition of all of it isn't diminished by these solid colors. It's in fact making it look more, it makes it look cool. I really enjoy that. Looking at over here, just see how simple lines, not a lot of detail in the eyes, right? You don't see much, but it just suggests humor. It suggests being in a humorous state. Same thing with his mouth. Just beautiful work. Beautiful gesture lines for the hair as well. Poses. Being able to tell a story even in 5 panels really also highlights how well he's able to draw. And this is such a cool panel too. Like, when are you gonna come across backgrounds or environments or scenes like that? It's something surreal about it in a sense, and that's also what the colors are making. It's making it surreal in a way. It's unrealistic, but it's realistic at the same time. Yeah, it's just masterfully done. The way that they even stand on these, it's so well balanced. Like, their poses are so well balanced. So at the time, it blew up because his work was just so well rendered. And I'm sure that because it was once a week, it was every Sunday, people were just eager to see, because it was something new. Again, this is like right at the boom of comics, where they started producing these things, and now it's just, there's so much of it. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just in comparison to that time, it was like such exciting moments because it was something that people haven't seen before. So yeah, Flash Gordon really took off. People loved the work. And I'm not going to go through all of them. It's going to take a lot of time of the stream itself. We're already like halfway through the stream. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys some pieces here and there. Pick up the issue, keep it alive, keep his amazing work alive. And there's multiple volumes, and it's fun to just read these stories. Like, I even like this. This is great. It's such a cool scene, cool creature. Yeah, it's just fun to read these stories. It's a glimpse back into history, back into times, how they told stories, and so on and so forth. This kind of reminds me of Johnny's Quest. I don't know if you guys ever seen that cartoon. It was sometime on Cartoon Network, and even before that, I remember it was around on like other channels. But Cartoon Network would show it sometimes, and it seems the illustration kind of resembles Johnny's Quest. But I'm just flipping through these pages to show you guys how skillful his illustrations were. And it's great to draw from. It's only 5 panels. You know, you're not drawing an entire book. Simple colors as well. Yep, this is it, Flash Gordon. So just to give you guys, I was excited to talk about it because it is something that has been brought up in other movies and comics and such, and I never really knew the extent that Alex Raymond reached when it comes to influencing others. You know, I think that's really cool. So I'm very glad I ended up getting this book. And it's a hardcover, and it was worth every single dollar. I plan on collecting all the volumes. I do like that I have the physical version. I might end up just getting more of the physical ones. Okay, guys, so I'm going to continue on from where I left off yesterday. And that was the panel right before Conan is crucified in the desert. So here is John Buscema's work. And you could see it's kind of similar. It's still not the same thing. I don't see it. It's just in terms of understanding the anatomy so well. You know, I really think that he did a beautiful job. And yeah, honestly, I would say, he really took it to the next level with his earlier work. You know, if you were to see like some of the stuff that he was doing prior to his like time in Marvel and stuff, this is a huge difference. If you guys missed the first episode, I highly encourage you to revisit it. It talks about John Buscema, it talks about his journey, it gives you guys some insight into his life, what he went through until the point where he got connected with Stan Lee. Also just examples of like all the illustrations that he's done, and some illustrations that aren't really commonly known as John Buscema's work. You know, they were just sketches. I found this place where it had like all the different types of sketches that John Buscema did over the years, and it's just a huge collection of them. I think there's a book out now where it includes all the sketches as well. Absolutely worth it. And it's a 5-minute reel. It just talks about all that stuff. You guys get to see some of those sketches, not all of them. Ones that I found to be really skillful and beautiful. Great lines. Yeah, check that out. So we're going to continue on here. We're on this panel right here, right before this dramatic scene that follows. And hopefully, the half of the stream will be enough time to actually get this panel sketched out. And in the future, I'll show you guys work of Alex Raymond's influence, as I mentioned. John Nagata. I think his work is also great. It's worth the time to talk about. I don't know too much about him. It's actually just recently doing some research about Alex Raymond that I came across it just to see like, well, who influenced him? Like, what art did he really like, and that sort of thing. Just unfortunate that he got sucked into that like comparison garbage. It's better than this. I do encourage you guys to check it out for yourself as well. Buck Rogers in the 25th century, and just check it out. It's different. It's very different. It's very cool. Also, just like a snippet of the times and a fun illustration. And looking at work of John Legata, I also noticed, or I was reminded of this other book I have that also features some beautiful illustrations. They're pinups of models of the times of the 50s, but beautiful work. I'm not going to say but, there's nothing negative about it or contrary, it's just beautiful work. I'm not going to go into detail just yet. I want to set the parameters for his face. I see the problem here. I keep erasing the book, and I'm noticing how a sketchbook is not in view, or it's like too bright because of the light source, because of the lamp. Give you guys a better view of what's going on paper. think his helmet might be a little too high. He's got a big helmet. I need to bring it down a notch. And this is just an example of how drawing from life, practicing daily can really help your ability to recognize little details. So you will just naturally, they'll be like, it's like a spider sense. You just naturally see like, oh, there's something off. You develop a sense for it. And you're just like, I want to correct it. I don't think it looks right. And that just comes with like practicing, often practicing from real life to get your eye used to seeing the correct shapes when it comes to the figure or anything else really. Being able to spot differences, because that's such a crucial thing to do when you are drawing from references, whether it's live, whether it's still life, whether it's photos or whatnot. Like, it's really important for you to be able to recognize those things in order to make sure that the drawing is coming out as you see it. And then when you sit down, you draw your own material, that pops out as well. That tool just happens to come out when things seem off, when there's something that's slightly wrong, you just instantly pick up on it. So if you're really into anime, don't just draw anime, draw from life as well. Do both. Draw the human figure as close as it is. And it's going to help your anime drawings as well. When you're sitting down to draw certain parts of the face or the figure, you'll just notice there are certain things that are off. And you could even develop your own style because of that. I think it was like a song on this stream at some point where they were saying like, oh, if you made a mistake, it's okay. It's actually where some of the best work comes from, is from mistakes. So as you're drawing, let's say the figure, and there are certain lines that you make and you're just like, well, that kind of looks interesting. I like that. And you could just incorporate that into your own drawing, to your own character development or whatever it is that you're working on. Now, got a bone to pick with this drawing. It's just elongated. Speaking of, I think the eyes are higher than they should be. It's such an important detail. It really changes the drawing so much. Like if you draw the eyes way too high from the nose, instantly your drawing looks bad and looks like you don't practice enough. A really important detail to keep an eye on for.
we all have future pants. They're pants we're going to wear tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that.
Not sure I really catch that one. We all have future pants. I guess it's just to say, think ahead of time.
And the day after that.
Because everything else has a future of itself.
And the day after that.
I do like these songs. As funny as some of them are, or the sayings might be kind of strange, or I just don't understand them. I do like that. They throw in these like words or words of wisdom or whatnot. Just kind of have to like hash it out and be like, does it make much sense or not? What is that person talking about exactly?
I guess we all have future pants. They're pants we're going to wear tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. And the day after that.
I think I really like feathering because it just shows how much confidence and control they have over their lines. It's just such a good demonstration of that. Because they're all pretty much parallel to each other to some extent. They follow the curvature of something, they bring out the contour lines of whatever it is that what the artist is trying to shade using that method. The guy in my drawing has a different face expression. Like there's slight perplexion to his face expression in my drawing. Like he's frustrated, but at the same time, like, what are you talking about? Whereas in John Buscema's panel, he looks like, I'm ready to do your next bidding, sir. He is ready to do whatever needs to be done next. like how those lines came out at all. But because the pencil is sharp now from using one side too much, it's making really harsh lines. I wonder if this is on purpose, but I think it's interesting how the helmet is two snakes talking to each other. And then you have these two characters that are like snakes, basically, talking to each other as well. Not like snakes, but like what the metaphor behind a person who's considered to be a snake. I wonder if like that was purposely done. And even in the other panels, like I think it was here. Right here. But you don't get to see that they're snakes until this panel. Or I'm just reading into it. But it would be pretty cool if they were just like, yeah, let's add that element to the panel. Instead of them just being like Viking, instead of it being just a Viking helmet, just two snakes talking to each other. Well, two snakes talk to each other. Has anybody in chat or anybody tuning into the stream checked out Creeks or Missionarium? If you did, post about it. Tell me about what you really like about the game or what your favorite scenes are. I've been playing Creeks at night. It's just the perfect time for it. And it's just so much fun. It's so beautiful. It's so cool to see all that work. And coming to life, literally, like all those illustrations and everything's so lively. I highly recommend anybody who is into like puzzle games or just games in general to check it out. It's such a good combination of art and gaming, and it's fun stories. It's like all around just really well done. Well, ladies and gents, I believe it is coming time to end the stream. For the afternoon stream, I will be back in the evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard for my project stream. Well, I'm going to be finishing up, actually, more of the project. It's coming closer and closer. You guys can check out the progress there. 8 p.m. Eastern, and then I will come back to this. I will come back to John Buscema's work, not this panel exactly, to do some watercoloring practice, and that's at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you're more than welcome to tune back in, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.